Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm Prerna Pradhan, and I will be your host for today's webinar. First of all, thank you for joining us from different parts of the world. Welcome to AlCircle's webinar on global bauxite and alumina markets, positioning for the next decade. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce what AlCircle is. So, AlCircle is a global virtual aluminium ecosystem that connects the entire value chain from bauxite and alumina to primary metal, downstream products, and recycling. Under this ecosystem, we have three key platforms: AlNews, AlBiz, and AlLearn, each designed to support the aluminium industry through news, business, connections, and knowledge led insights. A brief introduction about what all these three key platforms are. AlNews is the heart of our information related products. The features include latest industry news, custom reports and market intelligence, exclusive interviews and e-magazines, latest prices and industry events, expert blogs, and opinion pieces. Albiz is the one-stop online B2B marketplace connecting aluminium equipment and consumable buyers and sellers. It's a buyer-seller matchmaking. It has surplus marketplace. It gives you assisted trading. In short, a 360-degree aluminium market solution. AdLearn is our newest initiative to create the world's largest online knowledge repository for aluminium. What are the key features under AdLearn? Courses, the one that you are a part of today, online classes by industry experts via webinars. Alpedia is the A to Z aluminium encyclopedia. Through Alfluencer, we feature change makers of the aluminium industry. Alinol consists of bite-sized posts on aluminium in everyday life. Case study showcases real-world impacts of aluminium innovation. And AlJobs, connecting recruiters and job seekers globally. Today's webinar aims to provide a structured, data-backed view of the bauxite and alumina market and help industry stakeholders plan with greater clarity. The session will look at how the market may evolve up to 2036 and address one key question. Are we moving towards sustained surplus, or is structural supply tightness being hidden by short-term volatility? So now let me introduce today's speaker, Mr. Rupankar Mojumdar, the Market Intelligence Lead at AlCircle. Before I hand over the session to Mr. Rupankar, please take a note on the webinar ground rules shown on the slide. So we will take all the questions at the end. After our presentation, we will have a dedicated Q&A session. All attendees are to mute their systems during the presentation. If someone wants to talk, they need to raise their hand, unmute, and then speak. If attendees have any sort of questions during the presentation, please note them down. We will address them at the Q&A session. You can also share them on the chat with us. It will be great if attendees switch on their videos during the presentation or while interacting with the speaker during the Q&A session, and no promotional activities are to be entertained. So with that, I end up the introduction for today's webinar. Over to you, Rupankar. All the best.
Hi, it's great to see all of you again. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. And let me share with the presentation first. I hope it is visible. The screen is visible for everybody.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yes, now it is
Okay.
visible.
Yeah. The bauxite and the alumina industry is, we all can say it is entering into a new phase.
Sorry for interrupting. You can take in the
Yeah.
presentation mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this session is specially built to make us understand how this phase may look like, and we have tried to go beyond the short term and to bring out the long term facts and how it can help in the decision making for the industry associates, the partners that has been in this industry for a long time. And also it will also help to make decisions for the new entry companies who are entering the sector. So let me. We have titled this session as a global bauxite and alumina market positioning for the next decade. So it is like a major supply demand shift, strategic implications for refiners, smelters, and investors, global resources and reserve distribution, trade flow, and price forecast to 2036. So the session overview, let me just take you a quick glance from the session overview where we will talk about the market snapshot and the global overview, country level production analysis, trade flows, alumina refinery landscape, demand outlook to 2036, policy pricing and strategic key takeaways. Uh, so the in the first one, when we say about the global bauxite and alumina market snapshot, we talk about the 2025, the year 2025, which has just gone. So we have seen the bauxite production was estimated to around 472 million tons, whereas the global alumina refinery output stood at 154.1 million ton. The primary production stood at around 74 million tons, and the top six countries hold 80%, more than 80% of the global bauxite reserves. And the key market dynamics that has been captured in the three boxes here are the supply concentration, demand drivers, and trade and price trends. In the supply concentration, it has been Guinea, which has been a dominant bauxite exporter. Australia's capacity is plateauing. Indonesia's export restrictions are reshaping the global flows, and China's domestic bauxite is declining in grade, though they are mining at below 100 million tons, but the bauxite quality has been degrading. And for the demand drivers, the primary aluminum smelters capacity growth, there are brownfield projects, the expansions, energy transitions for metal demand. Several greenfield smelter projects have been announced. India and Indonesia's smelter grade alumina production is also rising. Trade and price trends, where CIF China bauxite prices under pressure from Guinea supply. Indonesia's new bauxite pricing formula reshaping economics. Atlantic versus Australia FOB alumina price divergence and freight cost volatility impacts margin. So there are various key reasons when we talk about the dynamics, and it impacts in the long term, and also it impacts in the short term. So, however, we will be talking here in the much more for the long term part. So the global bauxite reserves for the top countries we have taken here for the in the Brazil for 1.7 billion tons. Jamaica has around 2 billion. Indonesia with 2.9 billion. Vietnam with 3.1 billion. Australia for 3.7 billion, and Guinea for 7.4 billion. So we have taken, these are the major countries which have the most of the reserves. And with that, the Guinea leads the globally with 7.4 billion, that is the 25% of the world reserves. Australia remains strategic despite maturing, their mines are getting matured, continues in the list of leading exporter of bauxite and alumina. Vietnam and Indonesia represent significant untapped potential with growing refinery ambitions, and quality matters. Alumina yield ratios vary significantly by region, while grade benchmarking is critical for refinery economics. So these are the few things that we need to keep in our mind while we discuss about the global bauxite reserves. The global bauxite production trend and forecast we have taken for 2020 to 2026, and that too in the millions. In 2020, it was around 391 million tons, the production. 2021, it went down to 390, then it again took up to 395 in 2022, rose to 450 million tons, then gained to 444. Then in 2025, it was around 472, and in 2026, we are estimating the forecast to be to stand at 477 million tons. However, the cumulative growth from 2020 to 2026 shows a 22% growth on an average, and the Guinea stands as the fastest growing exporter globally. Indonesia, the production volatility due to export policy. So, as we all know, they have now banned their bauxite exports. If we talk about the country level production trend, Guinea and Australia, let us have a look at the 2020 to 2025, how the bauxite production happened. We can see in Guinea in 2022, it was around 100 million tons, and standing on 2025, it rose to 178 million. So that was a rise around 78 million tons. If you see in Australia, the bauxite production was in 2022, it was 102 million. In 2023, it went to 104, and then we saw a marginal dip to 101 million tons, and in 2025, it dipped to 98 million tons. So what's the outlook for both these countries? Because they are the top bauxite product producers. So Guinea's outlook surpassed 100 million tons milestone in 2023, targeting alumina refinery development for value adding. Chinese investment is driving infrastructure growth. 2030 alumina capacity target requires major capex. So we have been looking at the market, and Guinea has been trying to get investment for alumina refinery, and we are expecting at least 3 to 4 at least coming up with an alumina refinery by 2030, and more to come in the coming years if everything stands perfect. Means a much more the political stability, energy supply, and all those things remain a bit stable. Then definitely Guinea we can have refineries more. On the Australian outlook, Australia's bauxite sector is one of the most mature and stable globally. The country has a vast bauxite reserves and well-established mining infrastructure. Australia remains a key supplier to global alumina refineries, especially in Asia. The shift towards low-grade deposits is increasing processing complexity and cost. As we all know, then when we start mining in and keep on mining, when the mines get matured, of course the quality will be getting a bit depleted. So that's a problem that Australia is facing now, and let us see how it will work in the coming years. So the bauxite production trend, when we talk about the bauxite production trend, other than two big shots like Guinea and Australia, we also have India, Brazil, China, and Vietnam. So if you look at a slide of this where India produced around 25 million tons of bauxite in 2025. Uh, the, the growth percentage is very low, marginal growth. So in 2022 it was 24, then it dropped to 2020, 23 in 2023. In 2024 it was 25, and again it is on 2025. So it's a we can say it's flat, totally flat now. And the Brazil, if you see, the Brazil also has typically that a type of flat in 2024 and 2025. It remained at 33 to go. For China, as we have said, China has been mining, and now its quality has been depleting a bit. So there also have been shown the drop in bauxite production. So it was 90 million tons in 2020, and it has now came down to 2025. It has came down to 87 million tons. However, it was better than 2024 when it dropped down to 81. When we look at Vietnam, which has a lot of potential, but still its production is not to that part of its potential. So in 2022, it started with it mined 3.9, in 2023 it mined 3.9, 2024 3.7, and 2025 a marginal bid of 3.8 million tons. So this is how this four has been producing the bauxite. However, out of this four, still China is way ahead in producing the bauxite. So China, as being, we all know that China has been the major aluminium producer in the world. So, and with its quality of bauxite it has now, and China is now an import dependency for its alumina refinery and bauxite flow. So it has been importing a lot of bauxite, and we can see that 87 million tons, when we say its bauxite production in 2025 as a domestic bauxite, so its bauxite import dependency has rose to 70%. So that's an big margin that they have been importing bauxite from other countries, and from where, and Guinea has been leading that. And global, China has a global alumina refining capacity. If you see in that way, then China stands at number one. So bauxite import sources. So Guinea, fastest growing supplier, now dominant import source. Australia, long-term supply agreements remain key for China. Indonesia, supply disrupted post 2023 export ban, and West Africa diversification gaining traction. The other West African countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast are also supplying some of the bauxites. Import volumes trending upward as domestic grades decline. So, as we have said, as their domestic grade bauxites grades are declining, their import volumes are increasing. And domestic refinery capacity for alumina for China. China operates world's largest smelter grade alumina refining base. Running capacity data monitored closely for utilization signals. Capacity additions announced but subject to energy constraints. Environmental policy creating headwinds for older refineries. And the balance between the self-sufficiency and import dependency remains critical for China. So this is the global bauxite trade flows for shipping and shipping economics. We say that from where the global bauxite exporters and importers looks like. So Guinea stands as the top exporter. Guinea, Australia, Brazil, Turkey, Malaysia, Ghana, Jamaica, India. However, India's export is very low, and the top importers. In the top importers list, it comes with China, UAE, Ireland, Canada, India, Germany, USA, and Greece. The freight insights: Australia to China, the largest volume route. Guinea to China, growing rapidly. India to Middle East regional corridor. Middle East conflict impact for the supply. Freight and freight cost volatility impacts FOB versus CIF margin. So the freight cost has been an impact, and now with this recent crisis in the Middle East has also been some of the issues which has made some CIF margins high. So country-wise bauxite and alumina pricing, if you see the FOB export price and China CIF landed cost. So FOB bauxite price by country as of March 2026, we can see with Guinea, the price, the FOB price stood at around average 37.5 million, $37.5 to $38.5 per ton. And with the grade of the AL203 of the alumina comes to that, bauxite is around 45%. For Cameroon, for 51% of bauxite, for alumina content in the bauxite, it stands to around 45 to $48 per ton. And for Indonesia, we see that the FOB price stand around 32.5 dollars per ton. And when we see the China CIF bauxite prices by origin as of March 2026, so Ghana stands at the CF USD per ton is 70.5 to 76. For Australia, it stood at 59 to $65 per ton, and for Malaysia, it stood at 50. Australia alumina price in the Q1 of 2025 stood at 516 USD. In Q2, it stood at 356. In Q3, it stood at 357, and in Q4, it dropped down to 316. So we have seen in 2025 the bauxite prices has dropped and it still stands at low. So Indonesia price also we can see the FOB price it stand around it was around 521 in the Q1 2025 and in Q4 it dropped to $321 per ton. The for the India price, Indonesian Indian price remains much more on the similar benchmarks. So for India also, the in Q1 2025, it stood the alumina price stood at 522 and it dropped to 322 tons, $322 per ton for the FOB price for India. So global alumina refining capacity 2025, if we see on 2025, how the refining capacity, and we can also talk about the expansions and the new projects, current capacity by region and announced projects to 2026. So the presently now in Africa that we have 650,000 tons of alumina refining capacity in Guinea. In Canada, we have 1.5 million tons. For Europe, it has 6.24 million tons. For Brazil, it's 11.4 million tons. Middle East has 4.90 million tons. Vietnam has 1.3 million tons. Indonesia with 9.3 million tons. India rose to 12.54 million tons, Australia at 18.80 million tons, and China at 114.10 million tons. So these are the refining capacity this region and the countries has for now as of 2025. And the key expansion projects from 2026 to 36, we see Indonesia new refineries aligned to export ban policy as they have banned the export of bauxite. Definitely, they have also their plans to invest on the alumina refineries and also to the aluminium smelter. So they are now coming up with the new refineries. Vietnam Greenfield Alumina Refinery projects advancing. Guinea ambitious 2030 alumina capacity target. Guinea has a big ambition for alumina capacity growth in their own country, and there are a lot of investments for that. The plannings are on that. So India refinery expansions. Which will lift the smelter grade alumina output, Middle East expansion supporting smelters. However, it might get a bit delayed for Middle East, but it may come up within this time. The time frame is quite long, the long term. But at present, due to the crisis, but these expansions will come up. But the China backed as the overseas projects in Africa and the Southeast Asia. China has been investing in a lot of projects in the Indonesia. Australia, some legacy capacity at risk of closure due to their aging, because a lot of the refineries has been quite a long of the age. So they had been trying to be on a risk of the closure. So smelter grade alumina, the demand forecast to 2036. When we talk about this, so we have shown here the alumina available for smelting and the alumina requirement for smelters. So this is how we can understand the surplus and the deficit. And we have seen in 2025 the available for smelting stood at 144 and the requirement for smelters was around 142.3. So we can see that there was some surplus. The surplus is going to rise in 2026, and our anticipation still remains in the up to 2030 and 36. Even if marginal, there will be a surplus in alumina. So the global HGA demand growth from 2026 to 2036 will be on an average around 22.112. China's HDA demand from 2020 to 2025 stood at 20% growth. And for alumina per ton, the conversion we have taken around 1.92 per ton. So why we say that there is a lot of refineries are coming up, the bauxite minings are increasing. The other part is the aluminium smelter capacity forecast and pipeline. So why it is important? Because we can see A lot of new projects, greenfield and brownfield, both are in the cards now. We have taken the maximum. We have the informations and notable announced smelter expansion, and that is these are all here the ex-China we have taken here. So why we can see some of the growth in the expansions or the projects in the Middle East because of the energy cost advantage, and the status are all active for that. Indonesia domestic value add policy, as Indonesia has planned from 20 for the last few years that they have stopped their bauxite export, and they were going to invest in the value additions. So definitely they are on the plans and for the refinery and the smelters, and those are and that's in the pipelines. So India with a growing domestic demand, so the status is expanding. India has been expanding for their aluminium smelters production and the capacities. So we can see now in Nigeria, we can see a new smelter coming up. The project what has been started. The company which is developing this project, due to its cost competitive energy source it has, so it's on an active one. Vietnam, due to its integrated bauxite alumina uh, uh, sufficient, it has announced for the smelters. And Canada and Finland, for Canada it is an expansion, and for Finland also new projects because of the green aluminium premiums. So the status is very selective for that. So, when we talk about the government policies and the mining regulations, so this industry also faces, or we can say this industry has to also go through the government policies. There are mining regulations due to the environment policies, sustainability, social sustainability, all has to be maintained, and the key regulatory dynamics in Guinea, Indonesia, Australia, and Indonesia. When we talk about what are the major highlights for these four countries, like so in Guinea, the mining code mandates progressive local content, ambition to develop domestic alumina refinery capacity, infrastructure gaps constrain value add ambitions, Chinese investment partnerships enabling expansion. 2030 alumina target requires substantial regulatory support. That's how the Guinea has been driving these policies now. In fact, Guinea is also coming officially with this alumina pricing part called GBIX. The Guinea will be having its refineries also very soon. Uh, on There are few on the pens and paper, but one project has already started in Guinea for a 2 million tons alumina refinery. For Indonesia, export ban on raw bauxite since June 23rd, 2023, revised pricing formula for domestic bauxite. So they have also revised their pricing formula for domestic bauxite. Policy driving domestic refinery investment because the number of refineries they have planned, the investment is still a bit lagging to some of them still in the holes. Aluminium industry faces oversupply risks in the long term because if the number of refineries Guinea has been in Indonesia, the lined up, if that all comes online, then Indonesia has to invest more on the smelters. Otherwise, their alumina will be oversupplied. Domestic content rules tightening for mining licenses. This is a recent one in Indonesia due to the ratio of bauxite supply to alumina conversion. They are trying to tighten the licenses so that nothing goes means over bauxite supply to the refinery, and that has to be so. They will be just mandating like how much of bauxite is required to the operational alumina refineries. In that way, they are going to tighten the licenses now. So Australia's stable regulatory environment, key investor confidence, environmental approvals process for new mining is stringent, state versus federal jurisdiction complexities, focus on critical minerals policy export policy support bauxite sector, carbon pricing implications for refinery operations. So as Australia has been a matured market for the bauxite and a long time bauxite mining nation, so it happened that gradually these things comes up when environmental approvals get a bit stringent, laws get the jurisdiction and the laws get a bit complex because of the recent all the environments and everything. So those things are a bit concerned in the Australian market now. For India, the National Primary Mineral Policy supports domestic bauxite use. Odisha-based mines key supply source for Indian refiners. Refinery expansions backed by government aluminium policy. Environmental clearance timelines impact project delivery. Regional political differences across states sometimes can show mining exploration. So every when we talk about these four nations, the four nations has different type of advantage, and also there are some risks. So that has to be also kept in mind when we work for this sector. So, what's the strategy takeaways? So, the from the global bauxite and alumina market to 2036. So, we can say very straightly that Guinea is the new pivot. So, surging production and strategic position make Guinea the most critical bauxite exporter of the decade, and it will now continue. However, we can also say Cameroon has been also on the line now. Cameroon has started its productions now, and we are expecting by this year they will be having a bit of bauxite productions. However, the supply chain exposure to Guinea requires careful risk management. China's import dependency will deepen, as we have always said that that being a long time market, China's import dependency will rise because of its degraded bauxite quality. So China will resilience on the Guinea, Australian others. Alumina, so the alumina price recovery expected post 2028. So, as we have seen presently, the alumina price has dropped, but we can say that it will not rise to that much that was in 2024, but better than now post 2028. For Indonesia's policy creates winners and losers. The export ban and new pricing formula are fundamentally reshaping who benefit. Domestic refiners gain, legacy importers scramble for alternatives. So Indonesia's bauxite, this the supply has to be their supply to the refineries will have now some type of limitations. So they will be requiring that much of bauxite which is required in the refinery will only be mined. So they have a planning for that. Asia ex China emerges as a smelter hub. So, other than China, Asia, due to its to some part of its energy cost advantage in the Middle East, cheap labor in Indian market and in the Southeast Asia, and the strategic ambition position for Middle East, India, and Southeast Asian nations as the fastest growing aluminium production region outside China. Environmental and energy constraints are structural. Refinery expansion in China and elsewhere face mounting regulatory headwinds. Green aluminium premiums will increasingly separate the value chains. So these are the strategic key takeaways we have taken out. What the industry needs to focus and how it is going to be moving ahead in the long term. So, looking at this, Al Circle has developed a market research report, and which is like a sharper lens on the global bauxite and alumina landscape has arrived on our platform. Focused, refined insights, and improved navigation. So, if some of you if you need to understand the more in depth of how the bauxite and the alumina market will forecast to 2036, where will the prices can go, how the demand outlook will look like, what are the new refineries that are coming up, what are the new smelters that is coming up, how will be the conversion ratio. So we have developed this report, and the access is here. Our team will be sending you this access. If you think to have a subscription on this, you can have a subscription, and that will be somebody who is coming from this session will also can have avail a 20% discount on this subscription of the report. And I thank you all for joining this session. And let's now for the Q&A session. You can have your Q&A, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rabankar. It was a very insightful presentation. For all the participants, I would like to inform that we will be sending the deck that has been showed in the during the webinar, the whole recording, including the Q&A part, with a feedback form in some time after the webinar ends. So we are opening the platform for Q&A, live Q&A session on the bauxite and alumina market. As I can see, we have got a first question. How do you see the aluminium scrap
Yeah,
import export
I have
moving?
read this question. Okay. What I will say. Uh, See, the aluminium scrap export moving, as I have said, um, this year we will be having some deficit in our primary market. So definitely the scrap export, the scrap market will gain its pace now. And the question is, how do you see the aluminium scrap import export moving? Of course, we see the positive, and also we can say that going forward, the aluminium, the secondary aluminium, and the scrap will be dealing like a regional basis, more than exporting from our long countries from here to other long countries. It will be based on the regional parts. So, like Southeast Asia will be having its own hub, or Southeast Asia will have its own import-export part instead of sending it a long distance. And it will be not only in Southeast Asia; it will be, this will come up in every regions. That is how it looks like. And as we say that when there's a deficit happening in this year, we are anticipating a deficit. Then definitely the import export will gain its pace. The second question is, how do you see the coal prices and the rising input cost due to stringent domestic bauxite impacting primary aluminium in India? See, we our coal prices. See, in India, uh, in India, all our the major producers, the major primary producers, has been producing their primary metal with their own integrated plants and have their own source of energy. And to an extent, we have seen one of the majors has uh, put up in their financial statement that their prices for the power has gone down for the consumption for the in the cost of aluminium production. So initially it was for per ton of aluminium, it was $600, and in the last year, in the last quarter, they have stated that it has gone down to $450 per ton for per ton of production. So in that scenario, we can see that the coal prices, even the coal prices, has been a bit up and then stable, and these players has been buying from I think MCL, and which has given them a better price. Yes, sure. We can give you a very good session on aluminium recycling with all import-export policies, and how. However, if you want to subscribe to we have a recycling report, which has all that have you asked, and you can have a subscription on that, or we can provide you some sample copies for that. You can get all the your requirements there. And of course, we will have a session on recycling, definitely. I think there's another question with the recent geopolitical activities leading to serious supply chain disruption. Uh, yes, we think the investments will be there in Guinea. Uh, we think in Guinea, yes, we think there will be with the even this geopolitical crisis. Uh, we can see already that Guinea is having refineries started in Guinea, and few are in the cards even. And that is how the Guinea is planning. The government of Guinea has been planning, and however, the number of plants they have told or they have declared maybe not that much, but definitely Guinea will have a few, at least 2 to 3 refineries by in the long term that we can have. Other than the new projects that are in construction, of course, I can we can say that all total, even that is in construction, we can take till that by 2030 at least three will be there. 2 to 3 will be there.
Okay, any other questions related to today's webinar or any other topics that you would like Al Circle to organize a webinar on? Please share your feedback and thoughts. Dr.
Okay,
Ashok
if I
Nandi, once this question is answered, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay.
okay. The closures will be we can see the risk mostly in Australia. We have seen some risk. Other than that, uh, there may be some capacity cuts if the prices has not been great. And while talking to a few of the refineries, we have talked to a few of the refineries very recently. Also, they have also like they're not they have a capacity, but they are not intended to go for 100% capacity. So that we can see. But closures, if you see, so we can see a risk in Australia because of their to an extent of the age that can happen in Australia.
Dr. Ashok Nandi, you can unmute yourself and
Yeah. Bauxite alumina development in Cameroon is, as per our information, is doing good. We have spoken very recently to one of the developers in Cameroon, and they have a very good ambitious. They are quite ambitious, and they are not only in the bauxite. They are planning for more than bauxite in the Cameroon market, and that is how we have gone. That is the information we have now.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I
yes,
can
you're
hear
My,
you.
audible.
yes, so I have my own doubt about this Cameroon bauxite mines because they are located about 900 kilometers away from the port. So this is not a project which will take some time to develop. And regarding alumina refineries, new alumina refineries in Guinea and also in Ghana, there are a lot of doubts are there. In Guinea, you know very well, the only alumina refinery is not running well. And there is a
Yeah.
lack of industrial culture in that country. There, except bauxite, there is nothing in that country. Neither you get a trained manpower, nor you have caustic soda and raw materials. So there is a lot of doubt in maybe one or two refinery. One refinery may come up because they are under compulsion.
No, one
Uh,
refinery is coming up. One
yeah,
refinery
coming up,
is coming
but
up.
very slow construction work going on, and everybody is avoiding to set up plant in Guinea. This is just to satisfy government of Guinea. Some companies are coming forward.
Okay, Dr. Nundi, I understand. See, we as a company, we have some. Uh, we cannot. We cannot go and talk again for the government. But whatever informations we have seen, we are talking to peoples and from the
They
Guinea.
are
Yeah.
projecting seven
So we are
million tons of alumina in next 2 3
in the
years.
long term. No, that's
Uh,
in a long term. That's in a very long
so
term.
so this
But
is this
not
is
that 2 3
looks.
years is not possible. That's a long term. I
Maybe
don't
one
say.
alumina
Yeah,
refinery may come up in another four
yeah,
5 years.
yes,
3 years maybe time it will start producing. But about other refineries, I have my own doubts.
yeah. Let's see. They are trying for that. They have been trying for that. Let's see. One is coming up definitely. That's already in construction.
Yeah, already they
And
have signed contract and they
yeah,
are started construction also.
yeah. Okay. So
Okay,
let's see.
good
We
presentation.
are.
I was partly involved, so it's good presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandi. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, so we can continue with the question answer on the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I
Mr.
get the
Uta.
presentation sometime?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, sure. The presentation along with the recording will be shared soon.
Please, please, please.
Okay. Mr. Otavio Carvalera. Okay. Yes. We know. Uh, what you have said. How do carbon emissions influence the strategic planning and scaling of new refineries and smelting capacities? Yes. Your question also has that answer because the world is looking like that. So everybody is trying to see the energy supply, as this industry is the energy intensive. They are trying to check the energy from the energy source. Uh, so the most the if the energy is the green energy, they are trying to get to those things, and we are hoping that most of the refinery that is coming up will be on the green energy. However, 100% is not possible for now, but definitely to an extent of smelting capacity can be to an extent. But the industry is aware of putting up these things, and every this alumina and the smelting both are trying to find out the solutions for how to lower the carbon part. Okay, so the next L Circle may arrange a session on aluminium upstream and downstream key KPIs and cost comparison. Surely we will plan for that, the cost comparison and the KPI benchmarks. Prerna, can you just take this
Yeah,
note
yeah.
so that
Yes.
we can.
Thank you for the suggestion as well from whoever it has come.
Okay. See, if it is economically feasible due to internal logistics, see, now uh, if it depends upon the company which has been mining there, which has been planning the mining for a long time. So I think for the last 5 6 years they have been planning this, and definitely when they have planned this, definitely they have also their plans how to make it feasible. I cannot disclose at this moment why they are saying the feasible, but I with while talking with them, we have understood why they are saying it is feasible, because as I have told, they are coming up more than bauxite. which will make them profitable, which can make them profitable. Yes, we are aware of this laws for the 1.2 million tons. Yes, unfortunately, we couldn't gather the maximum of the data. That's why we didn't try to show here. But we are aware of this. This has been a long time it's going on. Okay, shaping up the recycling. Okay, we will be coming up with a session on this on the recycling and how India and Southeast Asia will be considered. Definitely, we will try to come up with a session, and I understand this informal sector GST, how it plays the role, the import duties of the scrap, and all those things. Definitely, we will try to bring most exhaustive presentation or session on this. Somebody has written Chalco and SPIC will come up. They have done a groundbreaking ceremony. So we are expecting them to come up in Guinea. What do you think with the current serious will trade investors of lower grade? Al Circle has been is trying to do a survey on this, and we do consulting projects when we get these types of requirements, and definitely if there is some of the investor trade for low grade and high cost raw material closer to their plants. So this type of consulting project do Al Circle has been doing, as we have on site consultants and our advisors, and that we can do, and we have been doing this. A similar session on copper and lead will be very full. Thank you, sir, for attending the session. Unfortunately, we here in Al Circle we are much more into, we are from the aluminium value chain, so that is our subject. So, yes, we had a word with the current investors in the first week of May, and they are planning for and they are planning for their bauxite conversion in their to maybe they were planning for a processing of their bauxite. So that has been the latest information we have from the recent the current investors in from of the Cameroon project.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, we can end the session. It was quite an interactive Q&A session for us, as it has always been for Al Circle webinars. Thank you all for from across the globe for showing up, being a part of this webinar. We will be sharing the deck, the recording with a feedback form to all of you, all the participants, so that we get a streamline of what all topics the audience wants Al Circle to help webinars on.